Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving into what is without a doubt the single most important document for anyone building a home in England right now. Approved Document L, Volume 1. Look, whether you're designing, building, or assessing dwellings, knowing this guide inside and out isn't just a good idea anymore, it is absolutely essential for getting your project signed off. Let's get right into it.
So let's just start with a big question. If you had to pick one single document that is shaping the future of every single new house in England, what would it be? It's not just some random piece of paper. It's the rule book that sets the ultimate performance target for every home we build from here on out.
And here's the reason why. Deep within the building regulations themselves, Regulation 25B lays down this incredibly powerful mandate. Every single new home has to be what's called a nearly zero energy building. Now, that's not a suggestion, it's not a target to aim for, it's the law. And it's the engine driving everything we are about to cover. So what exactly is Approved Document L Volume 1? Well, the easiest way to think about it is as the official government instruction manual. It provides all the practical nuts and bolts guidance on how you actually achieve that nearly zero energy standard and, officially comply with Part L of the regs, which is all about conserving fuel and power. Okay, so how on earth do you prove you've actually met this incredibly high standard? It's not about just ticking a few boxes for your insulation or your windows. Nope. Instead, every single new home is now judged against three absolutely crucial performance targets. So really get your head around this test, you have to understand the notional dwelling. This is a really clever concept. The government's SAP software creates a kind of digital twin of your building. It's the exact same size, the exact same shape, but it's built to a very, very high standardized energy efficient specification. Your actual as-built home has to perform better than this theoretical benchmark. You're basically competing against an idealized version of your own design. And your design has to beat that notional dwelling across these three key battlegrounds. Your building's calculated primary energy rate, its emission rate, and its fabric energy efficiency rate must all be lower than the target set by that notional home. You have to clear every single one of these hurdles to pass. No exceptions. So let's break that down, because this is where your design strategy really comes into play. The TEPR looks at the total energy your home uses, and the TAR, that one focuses on carbon emissions. Now notice how they're both influenced by your building's fabric and your choice of fuel. A gas boiler versus a heat pump, for instance. But then look at the TFER, the Target Fabric Energy Efficiency Rate. This one is absolutely crucial. It is a pure test of your building's envelope, the walls, the roof, the windows, the airtightness, and it has nothing to do with the heating system. It proves your design is fundamentally efficient from the ground up.
Right, so this fabric-first approach is clearly fundamental to the whole thing. So let's dive into the practical side of compliance, starting with the very shell of the building itself.
The document sets out these absolute minimums, what it calls limiting U values, for the different parts of the building. You can see the main ones here. So, for example, a new wall absolutely cannot have a U value any worse than 0.26. Think of these as the legal backstop, the absolute floor for performance. But, and this is probably the single most important point to take away, just meeting these minimums is not going to get you a pass. Not even close. The document spells it out right here in black and white. To beat that TFER, the pure fabric target, your design is going to have to be significantly better than these backstop values. And this slide just perfectly illustrates that gap. On the left, you've got the legal minimum U value for a wall, 0.26. But look over on the right. That's the U value your competitor, the notional dwelling, is built to, a much tougher 0.18. You see the same story for roofs and windows. Your design has to somehow bridge that performance gap if you want to comply. Okay, now for air tightness. This number, 8.0, is the absolute legal maximum for air leakage. But just like with the U values, your real target is way tougher. The notional dwelling is built to a much tighter standard of 5.0. And here's the critical bit. You can't just assume you've hit the target. An air pressure test is now mandatory on every single new home to prove how well you've done. So how do you actually hit those really tough fabric targets? Well, it's not just about specifying thicker insulation, it is all in the detailing. The guidance hammers home again and again the need for continuous insulation with absolutely no gaps, designing out those cold spots, thermal bridges, adjunctions, and clearly identifying your air barrier on the drawings. One sloppy detail can completely undermine the performance of the entire design.
So, you've designed a super efficient, super airtight building fabric. What's next? Well, what about the systems that you actually put inside it? And that brings us to the second part of compliance, the building services.
This number right here is a real game changer. For any new or fully replaced wet heating system, it has to be designed so it can operate effectively at a maximum flow temperature of 55 degrees Celsius. This is a huge shift, pushing us all towards low-temperature systems, which makes technologies like heat pumps way more effective and even improves the efficiency of modern boilers.
And it is not just about flow temperature. The regulations demand a much smarter approach to services all around. Systems have to be efficient and, critically, sized correctly, so no more massively oversized boilers. Effective controls are now mandatory, right down to the room level. And get this, before you even put a spade in the ground, you have to prove you've analyzed high-efficiency alternatives like heat pumps. Plus, if you do install renewables like solar PV, they have to be sized and set up to deliver their maximum reasonable output. Okay, so you've designed a high-performance fabric and you've specified efficient services. Now you've reached the final step, proving it all to the building control body. And this is where your documentation and your evidence become absolutely critical.
And the cornerstone of all your evidence is this, the BREL report. This is the official summary that comes out of your SAP software, and it formally declares to building control whether your project passes those three key targets, the TPER, the TER, and that all-important TFER. And you don't just do this once. You have to submit a BREL report at the design stage before any work begins to show your design will comply. Then, within 5 days of completing the build, you must submit an as-built BREL report. This final version is the crucial one. It includes the real results from your air pressure test and documents any changes that happen on site to prove the building does comply in reality. And you could no longer just say you've done it right. For the very first time, the regulations demand mandatory photographic evidence of all the key construction stages. You have to take geotagged, dated photos showing the quality of the insulation, the detailing around your windows, and the work at critical junctions before it all gets covered up. This evidence trail is designed to finally close that gap between how a building performs on paper and how it performs in the real world. And just a quick but really important note for those of you working on existing buildings. These same principles are now applying to major renovations. The key thing to remember is the 50% rule. If you're working on more than half the surface area of, say, a wall or a roof, you are now required to upgrade the insulation of the entire element to a modern standard, as long as it's feasible. So the crucial point is this. Approved Document L1 represents a massive step change. It really demands a holistic, evidence-based approach to both design and construction. So the question we all really need to be asking ourselves is, are our current practices actually ready to deliver on this new standard? For more videos diving deep into the technical requirements of building regulations, visit the Building Regulations Copilot YouTube channel. And for any building regulations-related queries, head over to buildingregulationscopilot.com. Thanks for watching.